that is what makes the gospel of Christ so sweet, because it extends grace and hope and mercy where none should be found. He deserves our best. He deserves our full effort, our highest level of creativity and imagination and sacrifice. Remember that there are opinions and preferences. This is not the core. Check your passion.
We are not a church that has it all figured out. We don't know everything, but we keep looking to the one who does.
Well, hey, good morning, NorthPoint. Today's kind of a fun Sunday to do all this selfie stuff, and it's back to school tomorrow for those of you that are in that sort of stage of life or affected by the education system. So that'll be beginning tomorrow. Summer is kind of like officially coming to a close, I think, with the start of school as well. Earlier, Evan shared some stats with you just about our community. And I had one more for you that I wanted to share that you may not know. It's this, that nearly 30% of the church's staff's first name begin with the letter J. Did you know that? So we have Jay, Jeremy, Joe, and 3 Johns now that are on the staff. So if your name begins with J and you're looking for a job, you should maybe check out what positions NorthPoint has open. You might have a leg up. We're looking to add a Jacqueline, a James, a Jack, and maybe a Jacinda even. So if that's you, maybe check things out. See, maybe you can join. I think you know this about NorthPoint, if you've been here for very long, is that we do like to have fun. And we do try to not take ourselves too seriously, but take Jesus very seriously. But also just recognize that there's a lot of ups to life, there's a lot of joys, there's a lot of celebrations that we go through. And we want to make sure that we can laugh, that we can smile, that we can be hospitable, that we can be welcoming. Evan said, one of our core values as a church is embracing community. And I think one of the short descriptions in the Bible about embracing community is that we rejoice with those who rejoice, and we weep with those who weep. So there's always going to be space for the weeping and the grieving and the sorrow. If you've got burdens, you've got hard things, maybe part of the reason we come on Sunday is to hear from Jesus, to be renewed, to be built up in him. So if you need to cry, and if you're grieving a loss, I hope this is the place for you. We want to be with each other in all of those things. But a part of that is also the rejoicing with those who rejoice. When Jesus came, he said this, I have come to bring you joy, and I want that joy in you to be full. I want you to be full of joy. Jesus wants that for us. And so we want to be a kind of community that receives the joy of Jesus, that lives in the joy. And some of that joy is just plain having fun and enjoying life. So thanks for participating in that a little bit today. And what I want to talk about is, where does that joy really come from? Like in the midst of everything that we might face in our lives. I mean, the up times, the times that you're celebrating and you get big wins, it's easy to have joy maybe in those times. But even when you're down and you're having hard times, how do you have an overriding sense of hope and peace and like a settledness that it's going to be okay and that God is with me and I can still have joy in the midst of those things? How do we come to the place of true joy? How do we find, in another way, a fulfillment and happiness in our lives? And the word on the street is that you get there by taking a lot of selfies and promoting yourself and being about yourself. Isn't this not the world that we live in? You really got to get your own, you've got to promote yourself, you've got to brand yourself, you got to market yourself, you got to get your image out there. Nobody's going to give it to you, you got to take it for yourself. And so we spend a lot of times taking multiple selfie pictures, 20, 30 pictures to get just the right casual shot of us, right? And then you got to slap a filter on it, and hopefully there's either puppies or cute children, and it's golden hour with the sun shining behind you. But this is you, like this is the real you. Not really the real you, right? It's a very curated image of yourself that you want to promote to everybody else. But that's the line. I don't know if there's one word that describes our modern culture better than the term selfie. The selfie culture, right? Do you know some of the history of selfies? I'm going to take you back just a little bit. Australia claims the first use of the word selfie. Back in 2002, there was an Australian guy that posted a drunken picture of himself with a busted up lip, and it was a little bit out of focus. I'm not going to show it to you because it's a little grotesque. But on the photo, he wrote this, "Sorry about the focus, it was a selfie." And that's our first recorded use of the word selfie. While it took a little while for that term to gain steam, it really gained a lot of steam around 2010 to 2012. And does anybody have any guess as to why selfies took off around that time? Any ideas? It was because of front-facing cameras on cell phones, particularly the iPhone 4. Now, we'd had front-facing cameras before then, but the iPhone put a lot of money into making a good front-facing camera so that everybody could snap pictures of themselves. And you combine that with social media, and this phenomenon just grew so much that in the year 2013, the Oxford English Dictionary chose selfie as its word of the year. Of all of the words you could possibly choose that have made an impact on society, they said this is the epitome of culture today. It is the selfie culture. Now, I want to be fair with this. Selfies are a vast improvement over senior pictures from back in the day. Right? Anybody remember their senior pictures you took? I mean, nobody in selfies is now sitting out, leaning on a wagon wheel, out in a cornfield, not smiling with a Letterman jacket on. So we've done a little bit better with the selfies. And taking a selfie is not wrong in and of itself. At least, I hope taking a selfie is not wrong because we just ask all of you to do it and upload it so we can know who you are for a good reason. But the thing is, I think that our selfie culture is really an indicator of a deeper issue. And the deeper issue is we are obsessed with the self. We are obsessed with ourselves. And the heart of it, again, is promote yourself. Promote your needs, your desires, who you are. Nobody is going to give it to you. You're going to have to take it, control your image, get what you want. You got to fight for the right to... Did that feel weird saying that on Sunday morning? Like, are we allowed to sing that on Sunday morning? But that's the culture, right, that we live in. And there's actually so many songs that really capture the heart of this selfie culture. From Meghan Trainor's I Can't Help Loving Myself and I Don't Need Nobody Else, to Miley Cyrus's Flowers with the key line, I can love me better than you can. I don't need anybody else for that. Actually, here in 2025, Ava Max came out with a song titled Lovin' Myself with the line, nobody can love me like I'm loving myself. Now, those are all pop songs, and I don't want the country music fans to feel that you're left out. So back in 2013, Casey Musgraves actually had a song called Follow Your Arrow. Listen to the words of her song. If you save yourself for marriage, you're a bore. You don't save yourself for marriage, you're a horrible person. Play on words on purpose. If you won't have a drink, then you're a prude, but they'll call you a drunk as soon as you down the first one. If you can't lose the weight, then you're just fat, but if you lose too much, then you're on crack. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm in on this song so far, right? I mean, that's some decent words. Living by other people's expectations all the time, going back and forth between, are you happy with this? Are you happy with this? And never being able to please anybody. I think that's pretty good. So Casey, help us. You've tapped into something here. What is the answer? Give us your answer. Here's Casey's answer. So you might as well just do whatever you want. Just follow your arrow wherever it points. Okay, that's definitely an alternative to living by everybody else's expectations, but the question is it any better? Is it any better? The message that we get from all of these songs is this: joy comes from focusing on yourself. It comes from focusing on your desires, on who you are, the inner you. It's about you. And you're probably not happy, and you're a little bit messed up because you've been focused on other people way too much. So just follow yourself to happiness. And so my question is this: how's that working out? Are we doing good with that? Has that been successful? Are marriages way better? They're just doing really good? Are people less lonely and more happy and more fulfilled? Are we seeing a decrease in suicidal ideation? Are counselors and therapists canceling their practices and having to find other work because they have no more clients around because everybody is actually happy and fulfilled and doing well? No. I think people are getting what they want, at least what they think they want. We're continuing to sing all of these anthems and finding out that it's absolutely empty, that it won't deliver what it's promised. People are finding out that they and themselves are not enough, that following your arrow wherever it points is a misfire. You see, when we embrace a selfie culture, what you actually have is a selfish culture. Self-absorption and self-focus, well, that's not actually compatible with marriage. And it's not really compatible with friendships, and it's not really compatible with the good of others. In its worst form, it actually leads to violence and abuse, to the powerful oppressing the weak. It leads to a decline in actually even having a moral conscience. It ultimately hurts everybody. So there's got to be a better way to this just follow your error, do your own thing, promote yourself, be about yourself. And maybe there is a better way. Like maybe the God who created us, who came down to us and who said to us, I want your joy. In fact, I want my joy to be in you, and I want that joy to be full. Maybe that God who created us and promised and invited us into that knows where we actually find joy. And so we want to look to him for that. But I want to tell you something at the start here. In seeking an answer from him, you have to realize that the answer that Jesus is going to provide for this is going to be counterintuitive. That there's a reason why so many people fully embrace the selfie culture. It's natural, it's easy, it's what everybody else is doing, and it seems to be more fulfilling. It seems to be logical until you find out that it isn't. See, God has a better way for us, and Jesus gives it to us in Matthew chapter 16. So if you got a Bible, you're not there already, turn to Matthew 16. It's on page 798 in the chair Bible, 798. And I'm going to tell you again, what Jesus is going to say here, it's not easy, and it doesn't seem to make sense. It will be counterintuitive, and it's rather abrasive, especially to our cultural ears that we have today. What Jesus is going to say here would kind of be like me trying to convince you that your mouth would be a lot cleaner and better off if you never brushed your teeth. Don't use mouthwash, don't brush your teeth, don't floss, and your teeth will be in a much better condition. Your mouth will be it'll be better for everybody. Now, if I said that to you, what would you say? Ick, that's disgusting. Please don't tell my son that. He doesn't want to brush his teeth anyways. Don't let the kids know, right? Because you realize like that is gross, that's abrasive, that doesn't make absolutely any sense. And just to be clear, I'm not a dentist and I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just trying to get you ready for what Jesus is about to say to us, which is counterintuitive and abrasive at first. And here it is from Jesus, Matthew 16, verse 24. Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. In other words, Jesus says, if you really want to be, we would say today, if you want to be a Christian, if you really want to know God, and if you really want to follow me, it takes three things. You have to first, and it starts with this, you have to deny yourself. You have to resist the self. You have to say no to yourself. You have to do the opposite of what everybody in the culture is doing and telling you is the way to happiness. It's the 180 in the complete opposite direction. You actually deny yourself, and then you take up your cross, willing to sacrifice, and you follow me. Now, in the Greek language, the original language this was written in, the first two verbs in this sentence are what we call in the aorist, meaning it's a decisive action in the past where you've made a commitment. And so he's saying you've got to make this commitment to say, I will deny myself, I'm going to take up my cross, but then follow me as ongoing action. So it's like this decisive commitment you make to say, Jesus, I am in with you, I am for you, I trust in you as my Savior, so I will deny myself, take up my cross, and now daily I want to follow you. I want to live in this. So a decisive commitment with an ongoing action. Jesus says that's what it takes. And he goes on in verse 25. For whoever wants to save their life will actually lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. Well, that's an ironic turn. Whoever wants to grasp and hold on to and pursue and be about their own life, their own self, you actually will lose the very thing you're striving to gain. But if you're willing to give up your life to me and abandon it to me, you'll find life. The creator of life tells us that's the way that it actually works. See, that's counterintuitive. Verse 26, what good would it be for somebody to gain the entire world? What good would it be for somebody to get all the things that they think their heart wants in pursuit of their self? All of the stuff, all of the friends, all the relationships, all the money, all the homes, all the acclaim, all the fame, and actually lose their soul, lose their self, lose their life? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their souls? What Jesus is saying there is souls, lives are priceless. You can't put a money on a life. You can't really buy a life. You can't really purchase a life. Do you remember, maybe some of you remember back in the mid to late 90s, MasterCard had this advertising campaign that was actually called Priceless. Do you remember the Priceless advertising campaign and the commercials? There were some iconic commercials that they produced back then. And maybe some of you haven't seen them, so I thought maybe you should see this one. I tried to choose the one that I thought you might remember the most if you've seen it before. Check out this commercial.
2 tickets, $28. 2 hot dogs, 2 popcorns, and 2 sodas, $18. 1 autographed baseball, $45. Real conversation with 11-year-old son, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Accepted all over, even Major League ballparks.
Okay, so first thing, inflation, right? I mean, would love to go to a baseball game for that amount of money right now. That is crazy. But secondly, I love what they're saying there. They're like, hey, we're a credit card that can help you buy all of the things that money can buy, but it can't buy everything. There's a lot of things that money can't buy. And that's what Jesus is saying here, the same thing. Souls, lives are priceless. And Jesus is saying, I'm trying to tell you how to actually gain your life, how to gain real life, how to find fulfillment, how to find happiness. And it doesn't come in the pursuit of yourself. And then notice what he says. I love this in verse 27. He's saying, look, when you listen to me, when you will follow me, when you receive this hard word that I'm giving to you, it's for your good. Verse 27, for the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Dying to yourself and following Jesus is and will be worth it. It is worth it in this life, and it is definitely worth it in the life to come when Jesus Christ returns in all power and he rewards you for denying yourself, taking up your cross, and following him. What Jesus is calling us to here is selfie sacrifice. He's calling us to sacrifice the self. And the words that he gives us here are just another example of Jesus' grace and truth. You know, we talk about this all the time, but Jesus always comes to us as his followers with grace and with truth. The truth of what Jesus is saying here is this is going to be hard. You're going to have to give yourself up, and you're going to have to push against culture, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to stop thinking about yourself first and your desires and your wants, and stop worrying so much about what everybody else thinks about you, and fix your eyes on me. That's the truth, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, take up your cross, right? Jesus would literally do this, right? But he's calling us to sacrifice and yield ourselves to him in that image. But this strong truth from Jesus, see it as an invitation, because this is the creator of life telling you where to find life. He's saying, this is what I want. This is how you receive my joy, is by letting me drive your passions, your desires, and your focus. So Jesus is saying, this is not easy, but your way's not working. And mine will. Follow me. That's what I want for you. Grace and truth. Can you let verse 25 just for a minute hit you? When Jesus says this again, for whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. Jesus says the very thing that so many people are obsessed with actually destroys them. Why does a focus on me destroy me? Think about that. Why would Jesus say this? And why is it that a focus on me and being about myself, why does that destroy me? There's at least one really good answer. And the answer to that is because I'm not God and because you're not God. We're not God, right? We're too small and inadequate to be able to worship ourselves. Let me ask you this. Do you ever get tired? Do you ever get tired? Do you have to sleep? Do you get sick sometimes? Have you ever been bent over a toilet with your stomach wrenching, puking up your guts and being like, how could anybody ever love me like this, right? Because you just like, I feel so terrible. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Do you have those kinds of things happen to you? Are you getting older? Do you sometimes wake up, you're like, oh, my knee hurts. It must be raining outside, you know? Have you started yet to do this thing where you get down into a chair or you can't even drive a sedan anymore because you can get into the seat, but getting out of the seat, you gotta rock and you gotta like get a little momentum. Let me just one more time and then maybe we'll get a little momentum to get out of this thing. If not, some of you are like, I don't know, it's coming. It's gonna happen to all of us. It does happen to everybody, right? Have you ever created a world? Have you ever created a galaxy? Do you have the power to create a galaxy? Some of us couldn't even create elementary art projects. Our mom had to do those for us. And you might have won the contest, but it was because your mom put that thing together for you, right? And you took the first place ribbon home. That was me, at least. I was not good at those things. Just self-disclosure here. My point is this, there's only one God. There's only one God that is worthy of our worship, our focus, and our attention, and it's not you. and it's not me. And the sooner we come to that, to realize I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not powerful enough, I'm not even awake long enough in the day to worship myself and to be about me. I need somebody bigger than that. I need Jesus, filled with grace and truth. And so when Jesus says to us, deny yourself and follow me, he's calling us into this greatest commitment, the best reality, the only place where we find real joy. When we're obsessed with our own happiness on our own terms, he says, you're just slowly killing yourself. Being about yourself is like trying to grasp air. You ever try to grasp air? Try to get a good handful of air. Do you have it? I don't know. I might have it here. I might not have it. I don't ever know if I have it. Go onto the seashore, pick up a load of sand in your hands. How long can you hold on to the sand? It slips from your grasp. That's the kind of thing that Jesus is saying here. Our focus is in the wrong place. We can never get a hold of it. So what do we do then? How do we find true fulfillment and joy? And Jesus says, you give up the focus on yourself. Whoever loses their life for me will actually find it. Self-sacrifice. I commit to Jesus being the number one priority, the number one driver and the focus of my life. And that's what's counterintuitive. Because we tend to think, if I don't focus on myself, who will? If I don't stand up for my rights, who will? If I don't believe in myself, who will? And so we buy the selfie culture. We commit to self-preservation. And Jesus keeps whispering to us, no, give yourself to me. I've got you. I will stand up for you. I love you. And I love you not based on a future version of yourself. You know, some of us fall into this lie. We're like, man, if I clean myself up for God, if I go to church a little bit more, if I pray a little bit more, if I stop saying those things or doing those things, and I become a better person and I give a little bit more, then Jesus will be happy with me. God will accept me. He'll bless me in my life. And Jesus says, no, I love you as you are now. And we're going to work on all that stuff. I'm going to help you change that because you're not going to stay that way. Right? Denying yourself, taking up your cross and following me means radical change, but I love you where you are right now. You can't clean yourself up. I want to do that in you. There's only one Savior. There's only one God. There's only one Creator. There's only one Savior. It's Jesus. Well, okay, Jesus, then how do we know that what you're saying here is true? Look, if I commit myself to this and I believe what you said and I want to live this way, how do I know that this is actually true, that the way to life is through sacrifice? Well, we know this because just shortly after Jesus said these words to his disciple, that's precisely what he did. He gave up his life on the cross. He literally took the cross for us to bring us into a relationship with God and give us true life. It's in his sacrifice of giving himself up that we see the path to true fulfillment and joy. And I want you to just for a second think about how you just intuitively know that sacrifice is the way to life. That there's something about sacrificing, giving ourselves up that just resonates with us deeply in our being, that inside your soul you just know, like, this is the way to go. Think about a movie like Braveheart, right, that you watch and you see William Wallace, leader of Scotland, give up his life to save Scotland. And when you watch a story like that, you're just like, yes, the loyalty, the bravery, the willingness to give yourself up. I kind of want to do that. I mean, I don't know if I really want to die, but to live that kind of life and to be able to give yourself up for others, there's something about it. I think really all of our great stories, nearly all of our great stories have this theme running through them. Sam and Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Anna in Frozen. You remember this? Oh, I love Anna. She's like the best, right? I remember back in 2013 when the first Frozen movie came out. We were still living in Ohio and I took my girls to the movie theater. For some reason, Michelle couldn't join us. So I took them to see Frozen, didn't know a lot about it, didn't have a ton of acclaim at the beginning. And I remember watching that in December in Ohio of 2013. And as time went on and this movie got bigger and bigger and everybody was infatuated with Elsa. You know, I don't know if it's the blonde hair and the braid, but like, I was like, I don't get it with Elsa. Like, she's cruel, she's mean, and she gets songs stuck in your head that you can't get out, right? And so Anna's the hero of the story. Why? Because she sacrifices, she gives up her life to save her sister and like to save the entire kingdom through her sacrifice. Or think about it this way. Why do we stand and clap and something goes on in our hearts when you see somebody in a uniform, a military uniform? We have people in our church right now that are serving in different parts of the world. And they've said, I'll sacrifice time with my family, I'll sacrifice comfort, I'll sacrifice some safety for you to protect and to keep you safe. And there's something in us. Whenever I'm in an airport with my wife and there is somebody that is dressed in military gear, she's like, I'm gonna go tell them thank you. And I'm like, honey, you don't have to tell everybody thank you. She's like, no, I gotta tell them. We gotta tell them. She's just compelled. I have to tell her, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing. And she gets into a conversation and all of this thing. And I'm like, because it's in her. There's just a reverence and a respect that is there because of the sacrifice. And I wonder if that's just a small glimmer that God has put inside of us to point to this truth that the way to gain is by losing. The way to gain life is by sacrificing. And again, Jesus, he never just tells us what to do, he always shows us. So I kind of wonder if it went a little bit like this, that when Jesus was on earth and he has his followers and he's trying to teach them and train them and direct them and he's preparing them for what's gonna come, and they're not really getting it or understanding, that at one point Jesus was like, all right, they're not getting this. I'm gonna have to show them. And so he leaves the joy and the peace of heaven and takes up a cross and gives up his life in order to gain life for you and for me. In Hebrews chapter 12, it says this, Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. I've always thought it's interesting in that verse in Hebrews that it doesn't say Jesus for the ultimate purpose set before him, which would be true. Jesus for the glory that he would receive after he resurrected from the grave, he endured the cross. All those things are true. It says actually for the joy. For the joy, he was after joy. His joy and your joy when he sacrificed himself and gave up his life. And so here we have a God that never says, hey, you guys go figure that out. You go do that. I'm God up here. I've got bigger and more important things and I can keep myself sort of shielded from the hard things you're gonna have to do, but if you wanna get to me, you have to do this. He never does that. He always says, I'm going first, watch me. And now follow me into this way. Whoever would save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. And I think when we get there, and when with God's help and his strength, we can seek to live in that place of denying ourselves, taking up our cross and following him. It's gonna be a daily thing. But when we can live in that place, joy comes. And joy begins to come into our lives because God begins to do these kinds of things in us. He begins to bring us freedom from the pressure of what everybody else thinks about us. So I begin in my life to get some freedom from being like, I gotta please you, and I gotta do this for you, and I gotta do this for you, and are you happy with me, and are you giving me acclaim, and are you gonna be my friend, and am I gonna get this? And I'm like, God, take care of that, please, and help me, but I just care about what you think most of all. And he frees you from this pressure. Back to the Casey's damned if you do, damned if you don't, you get some freedom from that. Freedom from being controlled by stuff. Now, stuff's not wrong in and of itself. The material world, the physical world is not wrong. We need stuff. We need probably cars and places to live and food to eat and those kinds of things. And having quite a bit of that is probably okay in and of itself. But here's something I do know about stuff. The more stuff you have, the more time it takes and the more maintenance it takes and the more it breaks down and the more your attention goes to managing the maintenance of things that are not lasting for eternity, right? And so the more we have, the more we got to deal with all of the time. And Jesus wants to free us from being controlled by I got to get more and more and more. He's going to free us from being worried about money all the time, hustling after things that will vanish. He wants to free us from, I'm going to say it, cosmetic and physical enhancements that we're so obsessed with to always look better and be better and achieve some image of the ideal shape and try to get rid of aging for as long as possible, right? Jesus wants to say, okay, maybe, but just fix your eyes on me. Let me free you from some of that pressure that you feel. He wants to free us from the tyranny of social media and the constant looking and scrolling on our phones and then fearing that I'm missing out and that I don't have what everybody else has and the comparison that I have. They're living their best life. Every single day they're living their best life. And you know they're not living their best life because they just got into a fight and almost killed each other. But then the picture looks like amazing. They're in Bermuda or something like that. You're like, they're doing this every day. They're not doing it every day, right? But we don't really, we think that they are. And so I compare and I miss out and I don't look like that. I don't have that. And Jesus is like, I want to free you. I want to free you from these things. So many of these things control us and they suck the life out of us. Do you feel that tug in your heart? And you know that it's true, but you've had a hard time getting out of it or finding some relief from the pressure of that, and you know you're kind of on like this treadmill where you are running in place with these things but not getting anywhere. Jesus wants to free you from those things. Amen. So give yourself up to him. You might say, okay, that sounds hard. It might be right. Jeremy, you've made a decent logical argument about he's the creator and he's the savior and he gave himself up, and so like this probably is the way forward. But how do we do this Monday morning? Like what does this look like in practical real life? And so let me just help you to try to apply this a little bit more closely by giving you 3 diagnostic questions that you could ask yourself. And to take some time with God to just pray through and talk through these and do some evaluation about these things. And this is a strong word from Jesus, so the questions are gonna be strong, okay? And I hope you will receive this as an invitation from Jesus to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow him. Here's the first question you can ask yourself. Who am I serving other than myself? Jesus came and he said this, I did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give my life as a ransom for many. And right before he was crucified, he washed the feet of his disciples. His heart is a heart of service. And so I began to ask myself, who am I serving other than myself, other than my own self-interest? Who and how am I doing that? Do you give any time, effort, energy, or attention to anyone in any significant way other than yourself? And here's the real kicker. Without any expectation of return. Oh, that's the hardest part. Because yeah, I do serve, I do give, I do this. But typically we do those things in most of our relationship because we expect reciprocation, right? We have almost no relationships. I mean, marriage, friendships, work environments, some of this is just the way it is. But most of our relationships are transactional and they include negotiation. And I do this for you and I expect to get this back. And a lot of that we can't get away from. It's kind of the way things are to some degree. But do you have any relationships at all in your life where you give expecting nothing in return? Nothing's coming back, and if it doesn't, that's okay, because I'm doing this because Jesus calls me into it, and there's joy in that service for others. True service means no expectation of return. I'm not doing it to get something from you. Do you have any of that in your life? Could you put anything in your life where there's one there? Okay, that's a good thing to talk to Jesus about. Who am I serving other than myself? A second diagnostic question you could ask is this: how am I using my resources for others? Not am I using my resources, how specifically am I using the resources God has given me for others? So your abilities and your time and your wealth, connections, all those resources, recognizing that God has given you those things to bless others. You know this, but the vast majority of people living in a culture today, we use resources for personal betterment. We use it to get bigger things, more things, better things, up the lifestyle, have better experiences, enhance my body, like I mentioned before. That's what we use our money for, right? More and more and more. And then every once in a while, just to ease the conscience a little bit, we do a little bit of charity work or we give a little bit to the United Way or something like that, right? So I could just feel like I'm not a total, just obsessed with myself and my own possessions. And so just to kind of ease the conscience, we do this thing. But the person who denies self and follows Jesus asks him, why have you given me all this? And what do you want me to do with it? You know, I've told you this before, if you've been at NorthPoint for very long, nobody has to apologize for where you live and where you were born and where God put you in life. You didn't decide to be born wherever you were born and to have whatever you have, at least to start off with. There's no apology for that. It's just simply this, saying to God, what do you want me to do with it? You have given this to me. You have put me here. This is yours. It's not mine. And I know he wants you to take care of yourself and he wants you to take care of your family. The Bible tells us that for sure. But in all of those things we say, you've given this to me. Who can I bless? Who can I help? It's not just for me. Can you trace any ability, amount of time, or wealth that you have being used for others? That's the second question. Third one, final one. Is Jesus driving my passions? And this probably gets to the heart of what Jesus is saying here about denying ourselves. Is he the driver of my passions? Let's do a little exercise for a second, if you'll indulge me just a little bit more. What are your passions? Could you think about this for just a minute and be honest with yourself? I'm not gonna ask you to shout your answers out, so you can do this and be honest. what are 1 to 3 things that you would say you are passionate about? And maybe how to get at your passions would be, what do you talk about? What do you think about? What do you dream about? If you were independently wealthy and you didn't have to work or make money, you would do this. This is the thing. You're completely free, so you can just spend your time on this thing. That might be a way to get at what you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? Did you get it? Did you kind of get it in your mind, honest with yourself? Like, I think it'd be this and this maybe, and okay? I'm just keep mumbling so you can actually think about what it would be. If you've got your thing, then let me ask you a follow-up question, and you maybe know where this is going. Does that thing that you came up with have anything to do with Jesus? Is any part of what you came up with is, this is what I'm really passionate about, this is what I really love, is anything about it distinctly Christian or not? If not, or if you're unsure, it's time to talk to Jesus and ask him about what's shaping you. And really ask yourself and say, have I chosen to deny myself, to take up my cross and genuinely to follow him? Do you know that's what it means to be a Christian? Follow Jesus. We follow Jesus. To get our hearts in line with what he said he will bless. He said, I want your joy. That's what I'm calling you into here. I want your joy. That our hearts become aligned with what he is into and what he is all about, because he longs to reward you and he wants to bless you and he wants to bring you into that fullness of joy. But that only comes when we deny ourselves, take up the cross, and follow him.